Hello there folks, and how is it going? And welcome back to another video. It's raining and we are on the coast here in Portugal. Yay! We are back to some glorious seascape photography. Well, it's raining, there's a big storm rolling over, so I don't know how long I'm actually going to last out here this evening, but thankfully being in a van we have the opportunity to let things pass. But wow. The location we are shooting at today is somewhere that I have wanted to visit for such a long time, and I am delighted to bring everybody along for the journey. Now, I anticipated the fact that I was going to get wet, so you can't really see, but I am wearing shorts and Crocs, and because, you know, me and seascape photography, we tend to get soaked. But I am going to turn you around now in just a moment and show you this absolutely magic location we are at. And yeah, let's get going. So have a look at this. Cool kind of little chapel that just was built on these rocks. Get off me feet. Now I am free to ramble this sand, but it's this cool chapel that was built on these rocks here. When I get closer you'll be able to see it a bit better with this camera, but it's so gorgeous, and the tide is on its way back in. Ideally you want to shoot a location like this probably at a bit of a higher tide than what we're at now, but like I say, the fact that we can kind of stick around for a couple of days will help aid that. But we are getting some sun breaking through, as you can see now, so I am going to quickly set up and see about taking my first shot. So let's get going. So if you've been following along the channel for a while, you know obviously that I have lived on the coast of Portugal for quite a while, and I am all too familiar with just how wild these tides can be. And because the tide is on its way back in, it's one thing you have to be so cautious about, you know, photographing here, because you get rogue waves and they can the currents can be very, very strong here. There's very, very steep shelves as well, but so I'm being very, very mindful of all of that. So I'm going to turn you around and you can have an idea of essentially the kind of amazing. So that's what I'm talking about. I've been here now about maybe 10 minutes, and that's the highest now that they've come up at me. So that was pretty intense. But let me turn you around again there. So it's just an idea of the kind of frame that I'm looking to try and create using this big rock here in the foreground, and then I'm looking to use the water to bring us to this chapel, and I'm ultimately going to be moving closer to the chapel as the evening progresses. That's obviously if it doesn't start to torrentially rain on top of me again, but here's another wave now coming up to me. So the idea is essentially to try and use the water as some foreground interest to lead us through the frame. It's beautiful moody sky, and I have my 3-stop on, and I'm shooting at about a second, and I might actually try and speed that up a touch to about half a second. It tends to be a nice kind of, you know, seascape kind of shutter speed. I hope you can hear me okay with the microphone, but I am going to here's another one. Right, I'm going to fire away a few shots here, and let's continue on here. But if any of these pictures turn out to be any good, I'm going to pop them up on the screen for you now. Welcome friends to the ASMR Photography Studio, and welcome to this absolutely wonderful location. This place totally blew my mind, and this first image that I am sharing with you now is one that I absolutely adore. The light is just it's just stunning. Oh man, I was so happy when I was processing it, thinking, yeah, I like this. The composition I am absolutely in love with. As you will see throughout the course of this video, it doesn't change a great deal, but overall I am super duper happy with how this first image turned out, and one I think would look absolutely stunning as a print. I'm so delighted. Yeah, it was just such a wonderful experience, and it's so full of dynamic and power and rawness. It was just so wonderful. I'm super happy with this. well, there goes any opportunity for light. The big bank of cloud on the horizon, as you can hopefully see behind me there, has basically swallowed the sun. But you know what the marvelous thing about this place is that the chapel itself actually gets lit in the evening time. So it could make for a very, very nice blue hour shot, kind of, you know, blue hour seascapey kind of vibe. I still have maybe about an hour before the sun actually sets, so you never know what will happen. And like I say, we're kind of planning on sticking around here for a night or two anyways. So I kind of have another opportunity to come back to the beach and staying just right here, which is great. And but I'm going to take you just a bit closer now, just so you can see what the chapel looks like and the kind of possibilities you have at a location like this. But I tell you, my feet have gotten so used to like city slab living that walking barefoot across the sand here now on the little mini stones, they are screaming at me. So yeah, oh here, let me turn you around here now, because you'll be able to have a good idea now what we're looking at. Hope you can see that well enough. It's absolutely wonderful. It's just this random chapel. As I say, I'll pop up the screen what the name of it is. And if we look back this way, let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit. You might be able to see Porto. That's actually Porto off in the distance, getting covered in some gorgeous light. But it is a wonderful coast, and it's so amazing to be back photographing the coast here in Portugal. But you can see how dramatic it all is, and the kind of ideas that you can have. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful spot. Thankfully I'm on soft sand again. But anyway, this is a mad ramble. So I'm going to see if I can take a picture, because you know, I think in a place like this probably could lend itself very, very well to this kind of like, you know, fine art photography style. And I might try and do that while I'm waiting for the sun to set. But it's very windy, so I don't know if I can get away with shooting too long of an exposure. But what I'll do now is I'll just take a snapshot, just looking dead straight at the chapel, just so you guys can have an idea of the kind of scene that we're looking at. I'll take it nice and wide so you can have a see. So I'll pop that up on the screen for you in 2 seconds. So this is the kind of image, this whole snapshot, I just wanted to include this in here to basically give you an overall kind of view of this chapel that stands so proudly here on these rocks. It's an absolutely incredible scene and a wonderful place that I would absolutely recommend you visit if you have the opportunity. It just photographs so well. I was actually curious while I was walking around during high tide if the water came up and fully surrounded it. That's something I need to look into, because it would be a wonderful thing to shoot if it was like, you know, just this tiny little island popped up out of the water. Could make for a nice kind of fine art photography image. So anyways, that's just this is what it looks like. So I have ambled to the other side of the chapel, and well, you know, there is lots and lots of you know, foreground that you could potentially use here, lots of rocks and stuff, but I don't know, you lose a lot of the face of the chapel when you're over this side of it. I hope you can see that, but wow man, those waves are banging. But for me, I think, I don't know, I love the idea of the images that we were capturing a bit earlier, where it's just this, like, you know, lone kind of rock getting surrounded by the water, and then just this random lone chapel seemingly in the middle of nowhere. And I really love that about this place, and that's ultimately what I would like to try and convey by photographing this. And for me, on this side, like I say, you're just losing a bit of that. You just can't see the door or anything. So I think maybe what I'll do is just take an amble back towards the van and just wait it out a small bit and see what happens with the light, and then come back. So yes, let's amble back to the car and see what happens.
This, it's just a bit of a kind of a throwaway image. I think it's quite, travel photography-esque kind of image, which I really do like about it. The footsteps in the sand that leading you to this mysterious place. I'm delighted that I captured it. Again, it was very off the cuff. These are my own footprints walking back to the car. I actually kind of cut my teeth in the whole travel photography world before I ultimately settled on, trying to be a landscape photographer. And these are the kinds of images that I used to photograph in abundance, whether it be for clients or just for my own self. But I really do like it. It's a fun one. It's a fun one, we'll call it that. So yeah, I'll be curious to know what you think about it in the comments below, so do let me know.
So the sun has set, and while we may not get any kind of golden awesomeness, we are getting mood. Wow, this place is chock full of it right now, and it's raining, and the tide's almost, I think it's going to be at its highest point in maybe about an hour or two, and there's a storm off out on the horizon. I really hope the mic isn't getting too winded. And the battery's gonna go on this here, so we gotta be super quick. So if I don't do any more talking and this image turns out to be any good, also I'm still waiting for the lights to come on the chapel. So anyways, I'll stop rambling and I better save some battery here. So if this image turns out to be any good, I'm gonna pop it up on the screen for you now. So let's have a look.
So as the evening progressed, I found myself drawn back to this composition, and I just shot this one just a bit further back from the first one that we were looking at and moved slightly off to the left. And I love the water just as it was receding, as it totally soaked me. But it's just this wonderful leading line that brings us to the rocks and then ultimately out to this gorgeous chapel in the distance. But wow, that mood in the sky is just something else and really helps emphasize the storm they brewed off the horizon. It was a hectic storm, and it just got progressively worse as the day went on, but nonetheless I persevered and managed to capture this image that I'm super duper happy with. While suffering for one's art, I got absolutely head to toe, totally soaked between the water splashing up around me and the rain was like driving rain. I didn't take much B-roll just because I didn't want to risk the little Osmo pocket, but wow, I'm delighted with how this image turned out. And again, like the previous one, it's just so full of mood and atmosphere. And waiting a bit longer into the evening after the sun had set, as I say, that light just comes on in the chapel and just adds this gorgeous focal point to the overall frame. And of course that receding water bringing us into the rocks and then leading us out then to the left of this frame. That light just sets off the image. I was really hoping I would capture some lightning, but c'est la vie, next time perhaps. But I am absolutely in love with this image, and it's exactly the kind of frame that I was hoping to get, in these kinds of conditions. It was a wildy, and like I say, I think my clothes are still wet. So it was absolutely worthwhile putting myself through the paces to capture this frame. I really do love it.
So folks, in an effort to share a bit more kind of behind the scenes and how these videos are made and ultimately life on the road that Orla and I are experiencing at the minute, we are currently under a bridge cooking sausage. Yep. So we feel like Shrek and Princess Fiona. So it's fun times here. We are in Aveiro, how do you say it? Aveiro. And we are cooking some chorizo and having some pasta and living that van life dream. So fun times are being had here, folks. So just a little behind the scenes. and we'll get to it.
You gotta love pressing record and then realizing you didn't turn on the microphone. What an absolutely crazy evening that all turned out to be. I'm super duper delighted with how everything turned out, but I was really hoping I was going to be able to capture more images for this particular video. I just at a different location, but there's just been this storm that's just been stuck over us for the last week, and it's been belting down rain. Now, by the time this video actually comes out, it probably, obviously, hopefully will be gone. But yeah, just right now as it stands, it's just been absolutely crazy, and we just haven't been able to get out of the rain. I really can't put my gear at any more risk. So I'm going to leave the video here, folks. So we'll, it's because I was photographing pretty much the same composition throughout the video. We'll call it like how light shapes your images or something like that. But it was a really good kind of like example of how different light really makes your images look different. But sure, nonetheless, if you like the video, folks, do please hit that like button. And if you fancy following along for more of this wild European adventure, you're most welcome to hit that subscribe button and follow along indeed. But for now, I will leave it here and see you all on the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Cheers.